Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Decisions Lunch and Learn. Today, we'll be fielding any questions that you have regarding the tool. My name is Darren. I work with the support team. So anytime there are issues with decisions or you have trouble with decisions, the support team would field those questions and try to get you in a working state. So I'm happy to lend my services to the Lunch and Learn today. If you do have any questions for us, just feel free to either post in one of the chats, either the Q&A chat or the standard Zoom chat, or use the raise hand feature that usually comes with Zoom, and we'll be happy to address any questions that you have. If for some reason I can't answer any of those questions, what I'll do is submit a support ticket in your stead, so we can have one of our support members who has a bit more knowledge about the tool answer those questions for you. So if anyone has anything, feel free to ask away. See, you had Clayton join. All right. Let's see, we have a couple of people here. Hey, Clayton. So did anyone have any specific topics that they would like to discuss? Anything that they had questions regarding? Here we go. Clayton does. I will.
Hey Darren, how are you?
Hey, Clayton, doing well. How about yourself?
Excellent. Good. Thank you. I did have questions around surrounding groups. Is it possible to have a different landing page for different groups?
You said a different login page for different groups.
A landing page, a home
Oh,
page for different groups.
I think that may be possible. I'm not entirely certain. That's something that I can submit in a support ticket. If I'm not mistaken, the landing page may be something that it may be static, but I'm not sure. I think if you're running if you have multiple environments like in a multi-tenant setting, that may be possible, but I'm not sure if you can do that per group, but that's something that I can investigate for you.
All right, thank you.
No worries. Yeah, it will be shut down the license. Did anyone have excuse me, did anyone have any other questions? Anything else that they wanted to know about in terms of decisions? And Clayton, I actually have a follow-up question for you in regards to your ask. When you say a different landing page, do we mean like a different dashboard? Like let's say you'd want a dashboard for a admin group and then a separate dashboard for a designers group or so on and so forth. Is that kind of what you're talking about, or do you mean are we talking about more so a template in terms of like colors and designs and themes for that particular group?
Thank you. So yes, the first scenario is what I'm trying to accomplish. I know that I can assign the different groups to the different elements, the dashboard,
Mhm.
and a different group to something else. What I want to ensure is that I want to make sure everyone that is in this group, their default homepage is this thing. Another group, their homepage needs to be something else. Um, I know when they log in, they probably can identify if they have admin rights to define what their homepage is.
Mhm.
But I wanted to know some that is something I can configure. So once they log in, it automatically takes them to that homepage.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think that's something that is possible. I just have to find out what the finer details are for that. But essentially, it would just be a matter of giving permissions to uh, each specific group to
Right.
their assigned dashboard. And
Mhm.
I can't remember what setting it is, but there should be something that will actually redirect you based on the initializing user if they're in that particular group to a
Right.
specific dashboard. I'm just not entirely certain what that is at the moment. So that's something
Mhm.
that I can actually investigate for you.
Okay, excellent. That sounds good.
Mhm. Excellent, excellent. Let's see, I see we have two other attendees. Did either of you guys have any questions as well?
Hi, Darren. Just another question from me. This is not so much a technical question, but
Hmm.
a question on more on documentation.
Hmm.
One of the challenges, the team and I are pretty new to decisions. We
Hmm.
are less than a year in terms of development into using the platform. One of the
Okay.
difficulty and the challenge we have is that the documentation side is good, but how it is organized, it can be a little all over the place.
Mhm.
One of the things we wanted to know if there's some documentation as to that documents each flow, each step, the various steps that you have,
Mhm.
and how can we find documentation as to how those and how you go about using those? I know the documentation site is good, but if I could get all those steps in documented in one place, so I know I can go and look and see an option that I need to use and know which flow to use for that particular option.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that's actually a pretty common question. So I'll have to check on the status. I know we've had that asked before, and I'm not sure how possible it will be just because decisions has over I think over 2000 steps
Mhm.
in his catalog. I don't know if that's something that's in the works, but I remember in the past that's something that has been a bit of a challenge in terms of whether or not that's something that the doc team will be able to do. Give me 1 second. Let me see if we have something. Actually, let's see. I can link you to a document that we have. Give me 1 second. So what we do have is we're building a sort of step library.
Yes,
Um
yes, yes.
and it's something that's in progress, but
Hmm.
it'll take time just because as the tool actually grows, we're also improving steps and adding more steps as we go. So it's in progress. It's just probably going to take a while before we have something that's concrete. Um, what we do have currently is sort of a ways and means of seeing your step properties. And some of those step properties do have a description of the step that you like to use. But in terms of documentation, that's something that's probably gonna take a while. But we are working on that currently. Let me see. I will link you to do, 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 do. Let's see. This document will just give you some ideas in terms of the step. Well, it'll give you a bit of a description of the step library and some of the building blocks that we use for steps. And it'll give you some information on how to actually look through the properties of those steps. In the meantime, if you do have any questions in regards to any step, that's something that you can actually send us a support ticket for, and we'll give you as much detail as we have for whatever steps that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And give me 1 second. I can share my screen and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Give me
Yes, yes, please.
um, mm, mm, mm. Let me share my screen. Can you see my decisions screen?
Yes, yes.
So at least for now, like whenever you try to use a specific step, if you see this little, well, let me ask you this: what version of decisions are you using? Are you going the
Uh,
latest
yes,
version?
8 point. Just give me a second. I can tell you. On 8.2.0.
Eight point.
And I think I have 8.2.3 test in the testing environment, but my development environment is 8.2.0.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, at least for some of the steps, if you can see like this little icon to the right of it,
Yes. Mhm.
this will actually give you information about the step. This is kind of what we're looking for in terms of this is what we're working on in terms of creating the documentation for this. You
Yes.
also have a link where if we do have documentation on that step, we can link you to that specific data. But
Okay.
this is a
Excellent.
work in progress. So if you run into steps that don't have this feature, that's
Mhm.
probably expected. But a lot of our older steps should have this in case you're curious about just the general functionality of some of these. Um,
Yes. Yes.
if I'm not mistaken, at least the ones that you see in the default favorite steps column
Mhm.
should have these descriptions. But um, yeah, that's something that we're working on.
Okay, excellent.
The long story short.
Yeah. I mean, even this, the from the documentation, going down to the step library is a good start. At least we have things organized according to the different categories, which is quite helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you do like the at least those features. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're trying to get it so that you guys do have a more extensive library. So that is an
Okay.
ask that we've had before.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Okay, and Clayton, I also have info about your previous ask about the group, your group landing pages. So what you'll actually do is you'll navigate to your system folder, this little gear icon, and then you'll navigate to security and groups. And for the specified group that you're looking for, like let's say you want designers to have a specific dashboard, what you do is go into the option to edit the group and you can select the default folder.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have whatever dashboard or whatever folder
Mhm.
that you have your dashboard applied to, you can just click on pick and select that dashboard. And
Okay. Wow.
yeah, so whatever group accesses, you should be able to hit that landing page.
Okay. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
No,
And,
no worries.
yeah, I didn't know it was that.
See, we're on a bit of a roll. Did anyone have any other questions, concerns, anything, any curiosities?
Right, Dorian. Just more question for me. How do
Mhm.
you go about using the relations option under security? Um, that was something I was looking at. I'm not sure how you go about using it.
Let me see. You said the relations option.
Yes.
So, if I'm not mistaken, this is kind of a way to link accounts to other accounts, but through I believe it would be how can I describe this? Similar to if you have a link between a manager and an employee, you should be able to add that link. It's just kind of like a how can I say this? It'll link an account through an ID, so to speak, the same way as adding a manager to an account. Um,
Mhm.
but in greater detail, I've never really used this. I may have had one ticket where a customer was concerned about linking or creating a relation. So I'm not entirely certain. Let me see, relation. Yeah, let me see. I don't think we even have. Wait a minute, no, that's not right. Let me check to see if we have documentation
Yeah.
regarding this. Let me see. We have table relations. Um, have table relationships, account relationships. Yeah, we don't. Let's see. Account relations, relation, source group. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this is similar to linking. Um, and linking is something that we can do for groups as well as accounts, where we just reference whatever account or group that we want to link another group to. Um, it doesn't hold I don't know what specific function you would actually use this for outside of just relating to particular groups or accounts to each other. But group linking would be similar, where you can actually add a linked group. So two groups can be associated with each other. But functionality wise, I'm not sure what you would use it for outside of just making that relationship in a database table. Um, but that's something that I can investigate in greater detail. I don't think I've actually used this myself. I've used group linking, but in terms of actually using this relations option, I've never actually done that before. So um, that's something that I can look into for you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We'll get a ticket in for you and follow up with you on that.
And my final question is, as it relates to this is more uh, environment maintenance question. In
Mhm.
terms of how do you go, are there best practices that you have that allows you to maintain or test new releases before you move it into dev and production?
It's not allowing you to change your password.
Uh, do you mean in terms of how we would best
Now use
kind
the
of do
same password.
smoke testing, like a sort of setting up a sort of QA environment
Visual ID.
before you actually move um, between your other environments, or what are you asking
Yes.
exactly?
Right. So normally when a release is a new version is released, and I want to apply that release to my environment.
Mhm.
My previous approach was basically take the release and apply it to the development environment.
Mhm.
What I have found is that sometimes when you do that, the new version might break um, development that I'm doing. And sometimes I have to go back and rework some of my workflows.
Mhm.
What is your recommendation, or what is the decision's recommendation as it relates to um, making sure you test the version without compromising or corrupting the development environment?
Gotcha. Um, so that's I wouldn't say it's complicated in terms of best practices. What I would say is it would really depend on um, how many versions or revisions in between each environment that you're actually moving in between. If you have, let's say you're on 8.0 and you want to migrate your data from 8.0 to, let's say, 8.4, I would say in general, there's nothing you can really do outside of maybe taking a look at release notes to see what has been changed between those versions, um, to try to avoid any issues that you run into in terms of migration. But when it comes to migrating between major versions, so if you're going between 6 and 8 or 7 and 8, um, you're probably going to see some type of discrepancy in between some of your steps or maybe some of the functionality. Are you guys using a repository at all to move these changes between environments, or are you just kind of importing and exporting um, via projects?
Sorry about that. Yeah, what I was saying is that we don't have a repository for version changes. We do have a repository that we use for um, provisioning or deploying projects to production. So that is what I would want. What is your recommendation as it relates to, is it that getting a new repository, testing against repository, and then pushing it to the development environment? That's what I'm asking you. What is your recommendation?
Got it. Um, in terms of repository, we would only use that for storage. Um, I think the when it comes to moving between environments like your developer environment and a previous testing environment, it would just depend on how many that you actually have for testing. Like the dev environment is, if anything, that's the one that I would probably set if something's going to break. That's where you want to see it break. But in terms of testing, there's no real surefire way to know what's going to happen in a new version outside of knowing what has been changed in that version. So what I would say is if you are migrating between versions, unless they're the same, like let's say you have a dev environment that's on 8.4 and you have a production environment that's on 8.4, I would just check release notes to see what has changed in the tool um, between that span of time, because there's no real way of knowing how it's going to affect moving over to the other environment. Now, in your case, are those environments on different versions or are they both the same?
You mean for my dev and production, or my
Yes.
dev? Well, they are. We try to keep them on the same version.
Mhm.
So yeah, we are on the same versions now.
Do you have a let's see, how can I ask this? Um, do you have an example of the issues you've seen? Um, I've
No,
seen
so
at least. Oh, okay, I got you.
sorry. I have seen in the past where there was, and I haven't done this recently. I'm just basically coming back to this now. Um, but no, I don't have a current situation where I do see error. I know there was at least one occasion in the past where I applied an update and the update broke a functionality that I had in the
Mhm.
development area. Now, the challenge that faces that there is a group of us that works on different projects. And when I applied the updates, um, I did not test the projects that the other groups were working on. And not until they tried to check out to the repository, then that posed a problem. And what we decided was basically once we maintain a separate environment apart from the dev environment that we apply those changes to, and developers are required to go back to those environments and test their existing projects to make sure that those projects are okay and we get a green light and everything before we apply the update to the development environment. So that's the approach that I've used so far, or that approach we have now. I just wanted to know if there was some other approach or other tool that I could use to make that much easier. Because regression testing for the many projects that we have, sometimes it takes time before we can apply the update when that update is going to fix something on my project.
Mhm.
It might not affect the other projects, but we have to test everything before we apply the update.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds pretty standard from what we see. Usually a dev testing or QA environment and moving in between those, usually using the testing or the dev environment to make sure that nothing's broken in your processes before moving over. That's pretty standard. That's pretty standard protocol from
Right.
what we see. So
Okay.
I wouldn't think that we have anything outside of that, but the
Mhm.
way you're going about it seems pretty typical
Yeah.
from what I've
Okay.
seen.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, let's see. Are there any other questions, concerns, curiosities about the tool that anyone else had? Okay, I think that may be all that we have for today. think we can go ahead and wrap things up if no one has anything else. I hope we were able to answer whatever questions that you all did have. Clayton, thanks for um asking us the questions that you did. Did you have any other questions for me?
No, Dorian, thank you so much for your assistance.
Okay, excellent, excellent. I'm glad I could help. Um, yeah, so we do have these Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. So if anyone has any other questions or you'd like to attend another lunch and learn, just feel free to join.
By the way, brilliant idea for the lunch and question and answer sessions.
Yes, it's pretty popular and it's helpful, right? Like you actually get to
Yes,
you get quick feedback, you know.
it's much faster than support.
Indeed, indeed. Well, I am happy we can help you guys out today. If you do have any other questions, as I said, if you want to submit a support ticket, you can do that. Or if you want to join the Lunch and Learn, feel free to do so. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you, Darren.
No worries.